When Big Trouble in Little China hit theaters in 1986, almost nobody showed up. The movie bombed so hard, it nearly ended John Carpenter's career. Fast forward to today, and this wild mix of martial arts, magic, and trucker culture has become one of the most beloved cult classics ever made. Starting at number 1, John Carpenter was obsessed with Hong Kong cinema, especially after watching Jackie Chan's Police Story in 1985. He begged the studio to let him cast Chan as Wong Chi. Producer Lawrence Gordon shut that idea down immediately. He claimed Chan's English wasn't good enough, pointing to the failures of Battle Creek Brawl and The Protector in America. Chan himself said later he would have turned it down anyway, because he didn't want to play second fiddle to a white lead character again after his previous Hollywood experiences. Dennis Dunn got cast in the role instead and absolutely kills it. His aerial kicks and his deadpan reactions to all of Jack's nonsense are perfect for the movie. You can still imagine what prime 1986 Jackie Chan would have looked like flipping around alongside Kurt Russell, though. That version would have been completely wild to see. At number 2, John Carpenter sang the end credits song with his horror movie buddies. The rocking track that plays over the credits was performed by Carpenter, Tommy Lee Wallace, who directed Halloween 3, and Nick Castle, who was the original Michael Myers. They called themselves the Coupe de Villes and recorded the whole thing in one afternoon just for fun. When fans kept begging for a sequel that Hollywood would never make, Carpenter personally co-wrote a comic book series for Boom Studios that ran from 2014 to 2016. The comics pick up immediately after the movie ends. Jack gets married, gets divorced, fights his way through hell, and even teams up with Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. As far as Carpenter is concerned, it's all official canon. There was even a 1986 computer game that almost nobody played, but you can find screenshots hidden as an Easter egg on the DVD release. For number 3, Kurt Russell was genuinely sick during filming. During the entire White Tiger brothel sequence, Russell was running a 103-degree fever. All that sweat you see pouring off him is completely real. He still did wirework stunts hanging 30 feet in the air while being that sick. That iconic moment where he catches the bottle and says, "It's all in the reflexes," was a pure ad-lib. He also improvised the "son of a bitch, must pay" line and several other memorable quotes. Russell broke his ankle for real during the big wheelchair chase scene, and they kept it in the movie. You can actually watch his limp if you pay attention to his movement. The custom tank top and those giant boots were his personal idea. He bought them from a shop in Aspen and brought them to set. Russell has said in interviews that Jack Burton is his favorite role he ever played because he got to be a complete cartoon character. Secret number 4 covers how the Three Storms and Lo Pan directly created Raiden and Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat. Ed Boon and John Tobias have openly admitted this in multiple interviews. Thunder, rain, and lightning inspired Raiden's entire design and his electrical powers. David Lo Pan's ancient sorcerer character became the template for Shang Tsung. The floating hats, the weather-based abilities, the dramatic long hair, it all comes straight from this movie. Mortal Kombat co-creator John Tobias said that Big Trouble in Little China and Hong Kong fantasy films were huge influences on the game's entire mythology and visual style. James Hong's dual performance as ancient Lo Pan and the pathetic wheelchair-bound David. Lo Pan also influenced the whole evil mentor trope that shows up constantly in video games and movies. The impact this film had on pop culture goes way deeper than most people realize. At number 5, the catastrophic box office failure changed everything. Opening weekend brought in $2.7 million from 1,053 theaters. The final domestic gross was $11.1 million. The budget was $25 million. though some sources say 19 million before marketing costs pushed it higher. The film got completely destroyed by Aliens, Top Gun, Karate Kid Part 2, and basically everything else that came out that summer. The strange part is that test screenings had been incredible. Carpenter said they were some of the best test scores he ever received for any of his movies. Everyone involved thought Big Trouble was going to be a massive hit. Then Fox's marketing department apparently forgot the movie existed. There was basically no real advertising campaign. The poster was terrible. There was no promotional push at all. Carpenter was so disgusted by the whole experience that he only made 2 more studio films after this. Those were Memoirs of an Invisible Man and Escape from LA. He literally said this movie ended his career as a studio director and pushed him to go independent. Coming in at number 6, we need to talk about how Jack Burton is canonically the sidekick in his own movie. John Carpenter has said this repeatedly in interviews over the years. This is not Jack Burton's story, it's Wong Chi's story. Jack just thinks it's about him. Every single fight scene proves this point. Jack knocks himself out with a knife. He gets captured constantly. He needs Wang and Egg Shen and even Gracie Law to rescue him, while they do all the heavy lifting. The movie is a deliberate middle finger to 1980s action films where the white guy always swoops in and saves everyone. Kurt Russell leaned into this concept completely. He plays Jack as someone who wandered in from a John Wayne movie and never notices he's not the main character. The brilliant part is that Jack never learns his lesson. At the end of the film, he's still absolutely convinced he saved the day and won the fight. That's exactly why this movie ages so well, while other 80s action films feel dated. For secret number 7, the studio forced Carpenter to shoot a whole new opening scene after filming Wrapped. Fox executives watched the first cut of the movie and panicked. They genuinely asked why Kurt Russell wasn't playing a traditional hero and why his character seemed kind of incompetent. They completely missed the point, that making Jack Burton useless was the entire joke. Carpenter's whole concept inverted the usual white savior story structure. The Asian character is the skilled fighter who knows what he's doing. The white guy is the loudmouth who tags along and screws things up. To calm down the nervous executives, Carpenter shot the now famous opening scene after principal photography had ended. That's the part where Victor Wong sits under oath swearing that Jack Burton is a courageous man. Without that addition, the movie would have opened cold on Jack's truck driving into San Francisco while he talks on his CB radio. The studio executives thought audiences would get angry if they didn't know Jack was supposedly brave. Carpenter still thinks it's hilarious that they completely missed the satire. At number 8, Fox desperately wanted a massive established star to play Jack Burton. Their first 2 choices were Clint Eastwood and Jack Nicholson. Both of them passed on the role. Carpenter had already worked with Kurt Russell on Escape from New York and The Thing, and he knew Russell could nail that blowhard macho character, while secretly playing dumb the whole time. The studio only agreed to cast Russell because he was cheap and available after making Swing Shift. On the DVD commentary track, Carpenter laughs about how he originally imagined Eastwood-style squinting and grumbling for the character. Russell brought something completely different and way better. He modeled Jack Burton's voice on John Wayne's later interviews. That slow, deliberate, slightly confused way of talking. It became one of the most imitated performances in movie history. Russell's version of the character is pure cartoon bravado. He plays Jack like someone who wandered in from a different movie and never realizes he's not actually the star of this one. Moving to secret number 9, the entire production got rushed into a panic because of Eddie Murphy. In 1985, Paramount was developing The Golden Child, which was another movie about ancient Chinese magic crashing into the modern Western world. Murphy was attached to star. John Carpenter actually got offered the Golden Child first, but turned it down because he was already committed to Big Trouble. When 20th Century Fox found out about Murphy's movie, they completely freaked out. They shoved Big Trouble into production with only 12 weeks of prep time and a 15-week shooting schedule. The goal was to hit theaters in July 1986, 5 full months before the Golden Child's Christmas release. Carpenter admitted later that they had to make a better movie because the Golden Child had Eddie Murphy, and they didn't have a star that big. You can see the rushed schedule everywhere in the film, and honestly, it works in the movie's favor. The wire few fights got filmed at breakneck speed. The practical effects teams had to build things overnight. There's this manic energy that never lets up throughout the runtime. The Golden Child ended up making $79 million at the domestic box office. Big Trouble made $11 million. But if you ask anyone today which movie they actually quote and remember, Big Trouble wins hands down. Finally, at number 10, this movie began its life as something completely different from what you watched. The original 1982 screenplay by Gary Goldman and David Z. Weinstein was set in the 1880s. Jack Burton rode horses instead of driving the Pork Chop Express. He wore a cowboy hat full-time and got into gunfights with Chinese sorcerers and railroad workers. Lo Pan was still terrorizing Chinatown, but with 6 shooters instead of those crazy glowing eyes and supernatural powers. The studio executives looked at this period piece Western and immediately hated it. They thought it was too expensive and too risky to make. They fired the original writers and brought in W.D. Richter for an emergency 10-week total rewrite. Richter said he used Rosemary's Baby as his guide. He wanted to take a familiar modern world and reveal a hidden magical underworld beneath it. He kept the core story about the kidnapped green-eyed girl and the ancient curse and the supernatural gang wars, but he moved everything forward almost 100 years to 1980s. San Francisco Richter later admitted the original script read like a weird Hong Kong Western. Making it contemporary was the only way to actually get the thing produced. Without that drastic change, you would never have seen this movie at all. These 10 secrets prove that Big Trouble in Little China succeeded because of all its chaos and problems. Every panicked studio decision, every misunderstanding from executives, every fever sweat stunt added another layer to one of the most insane action movies ever made. Don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe if you'd like to see more of our videos.